Uh, All right, Katrina. I say Katrina, Karina, right?
Yep.
Welcome to the Nova University podcast, right? Um, have you heard of our podcast at all?
Not before you brought it up.
Okay, yeah. Basically, it's for like ages from 16 to like 26, like guys around or like young. It's for younger folks that are trying to get
Yeah.
into investing or trying to get that financial freedom.
Yep.
So, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name's Karina. I am a real estate agent in Boston. I am also a real estate investor. And long story short, I started with house hacking, FHA, 3.5% down. I live in a very expensive market in Boston, and that was my first property. Now I have 12 doors. Half of those are in the Boston area through house hacking, and the other half are in Augusta, Georgia. So I'm more of a cash flow friendly state.
Gotcha. And what got you into that whole mindset of like, hey, I need to get financially free? Like, when did that start? Like, when did that hit you?
Yeah. I was in college and I used to listen to a ton of Bigger Pockets. I don't know when I fell upon their forums or how I fell upon their forums, but I just remember being obsessed, like reading, spending my nights reading through and just always thinking forward, right? And so I knew that as soon as I could, that was going to be the first. I would say it's not that I necessarily thought, okay, I'm shooting for financial freedom. It's more so that I thought, okay, I'm going to buy my first property. It was
Gotcha.
like that next step.
Yeah. And when you were in college, were you like a senior in college? Like, when was this in college?
I think I was a junior going into my senior year. That's actually when I got my real estate license and I was started doing rentals, so closing a couple of deals and getting a taste for kind of this side of the industry. But I went to a pretty good school. So I thought I had to get a good job after college. And I did. And I hated it. And so I quit.
What was that job?
And it was in real estate valuation, commercial real estate valuation.
Okay.
So I would value like large multifamily, office buildings, strip centers, like things of that nature. I worked for an appraisal shop.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And what were you doing in college? Like, what were you chasing at? Like, what was your degree on?
So I thought I was going to save the world, and I went to school for economics and international studies with a political science minor.
Yeah.
So I thought I would be very involved with economic development policies of foreign countries. Like I always thought, okay, I always thought that I wanted to have an impact, and I felt after some deduction that a
Mhm.
lot of it stemmed from poor economic kind of systems. And so I wanted to be involved in that. And I went to school particularly for that. And then halfway through university, found real estate, like got my license, took a real estate development class. And next thing I know, I'm looking for jobs. And just to be completely honest, the best paying jobs were the ones in the finance industry.
Yeah.
And so economics helped me get there. But I think I was a little underqualified for that
Okay.
job.
Now, were you in college debt at all, or did you have like a full ride technically?
So I went with a really good financial. So I went to Boston College. It's a private university, and they gave me a really good financial package. It's a big reason as to why I went there. And I graduated with only $15,000 in debt, which is almost nothing compared to
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah.
I actually still have that. You should
It'll be
probably get rid
gone.
of
It'll
it.
be gone. No worries.
Yeah.
So, how did your parents feel about you, like, I guess, not pursuing in mostly in your college? Do they say like, do they always like question like, why aren't you doing this? Like before you, I guess, like started house hacking and all that. Like, what do they
Yeah.
say?
So when I was deciding what to do after college, I was scared. I wanted to have the security of a salary, all of that. And so I took that job, which they were very happy with. I was paid pretty well for starting salary, and they thought I had it good because of
Mhm.
that. My parents don't come from a background. They didn't never went to school, like literally fourth and fifth grade. Just don't come from that, this life that they've given me.
Yeah.
So to them, I had a great thing going for me, but I was not so unhappy. And I remember feeling so ungrateful because I was like, why am I so unhappy? My parents had this horrible life. And here I am working in the financial district in Boston and with a great job and not being happy. But I realized it just wasn't fulfilling, and I am pretty independent. So I just told them that I was going to quit my job to pursue real estate full time. They were not that happy about it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they didn't, they were like, well, why don't you just wait until you have a little bit more clients? Because to be completely honest, when I quit my job, I had no idea where I was, what I had no idea who my next client would be, if it was going to work out for me or if not. But if I hadn't gone full time, I don't think I would be as successful in the industry as I am now. So I
Okay.
definitely think that was needed.
Yeah. And what would you recommend to those that are actually in your position where like, yeah, I do see a lot of young people like they expect to go to college for this one thing that they've been taught in high school, right? And then they change their mind, like, oh my God, but I'm gonna be in like $40,000 in debt and I'm chasing computer science, but I really want to do is psychology or something, right? So what would you recommend to those types of like students?
I think it's really important to, I think when we're younger, they try and sell us like, follow what you're passionate about. And it's not, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
We have to be mindful that if we're taking on $100,000 in debt, you better have a job that's going to pay you
Yeah.
enough to pay off that loan in a short amount of time, right? You don't want to have that forever. And I think that was something that as I was going into college was not, in a way, a little bit lucky that it played out like that in my life, but I did not have that or being taught to me that I should be focusing on, okay, how much am I going to make after college, and how does that relate to the cost of education? So I would be mindful about that. Number one. Number two, I do think it's important to follow the things that we're passionate about, so long as we're not going into all this debt to pursue that. Um, and I think we do make more money when we're doing something that's fulfilling to us, which I know sounds cheesy, but I think it's more about finding what it aligns with your purpose, and then money will come after.
Yeah. And whenever you were doing your first house hack, right? What was that like? What was that like purchasing your first house? And were you like a real estate agent during that time as well?
Yeah, so I was already an agent. I was 22, and I just remember, through bigger pockets, I was like, as soon as I have some money saved up, I want to buy a house. And I was actually the second transaction I had ever done. So I had only closed one sale before that, but I knew kind of the industry and what was being done and all of that. And I was always looking at the market, and I understood how to run numbers. So I understood when a good deal crossed my desk. And I was also willing to submit a competitive offer. I think so many buyers get stuck in, I guess, not being educated enough that they're or not prepared enough to submit the best offer that they need to. So I think the combination of all of that allowed me to purchase that property pretty quickly. And I had saved money from my job and the fact that I was closing a couple of deals in real estate.
Okay. And how long you been house hacking for?
It has so 2019, started in 2019, and now it's 2022. So 3 years.
So you basically got three houses from that?
Two.
Two.
So
Okay.
what? Yeah. So one is a triplex in the market called Lynn. It's kind of submarket of the Greater Boston area, and the house that I'm in right now. We also house hack, live for free in, and this is in Chelsea, which is right next to Boston. So it's like it takes me 10 minutes or less to be in downtown. And there's been a lot of appreciation in these markets. So we have like 100,000 in equity in each one plus,
And how did
and
you find?
it's only been 2 years.
Oh, okay. And how did you finance both of them?
FHA.
FHA.
So I took out an FHA 3.5% down for my first one. And the second, the one we're in now, is under my girlfriend's name.
Okay. And are you gonna? What are you planning to do with? Are you still planning to do house hacking in the future? And what type of financing are you gonna do for those?
So it's tough because we actually enjoy where we live now. We have this old setup and we don't really see ourselves moving. So I'm not positive if a house hack is in the plans for this year, maybe next year. This year, I think my next immediate plan is a short-term rental and then continuing the kind of the portfolio I've built in Augusta.
Yeah. Hold on. We got one of our guys in here.
Okay, sounds good.
No, you're good. Sami, he's gonna edit this part. So
Okay.
Sami, you in here? Oh, well, yeah, I guess he just disappeared. Anyway, so now from FHA, you're gonna stop doing house hacking, right? Are you gonna do 20% conventional or 15%?
So I've done 20% commercial loans actually, because I switched from that W-2 to that self-employed income.
Mhm.
Actually, even though I had my self-employed income since I was in college, it was minimal. I wasn't doing much at that time. So it's not enough to be bankable essentially. So, but I still wanted to buy properties. And that's when I kind of learned about commercial loans and the fact that they finance based off the uh, property itself and not your own income.
Okay. And there's a lot of people that are saying like, hey, the market's pretty high right now, right? There's a lot of interest rates going up. And would it be a good time to invest? What's your opinion on that?
So I think, like many other people in the industry, that you should not try and time the market. That's even the smartest people in the world can't do that. So definitely not something for me or you. But really, it's about buying a deal that makes sense in any market, right? So you can't just buy a deal based on appreciation and hope that that happens. If it's going to appreciate, then great, let it be a bonus. But the property needs to carry itself in the event that you lose your job and all of that. And that's the basics of what I follow. But I think I can't imagine where I'd be now if I hadn't bought that first property in 2019, and if I hadn't bought last year. And I'm going to buy this year, and I'm going to buy every year moving forward, regardless of what the market does.
And what is your strategy? Just buy like one house per year?
No, I hope not. So I have done what I like what I have been able to do so far with the income I've had. So at the beginning, I bought that house hack. Then the second year, we did the second house hack. Then last year, I had a sharp increase in income. And that's when I bought 4 properties, 6 doors. And so this year, I hope to do 10. I have a goal of 10 doors or at least 3,000, an additional 3,000 in monthly cash flow.
And is that also in like partnership as well?
No, so a lot of what I've done is myself, but me and my girlfriend are likely going to get married. So,
Mhm.
it's might as well be us, right? And the FHA is under her name. So the properties in Augusta, we do have under an LLC as well. But a lot of it I'm financing, and then she's kind of takes care of them.
Okay. Do you have property managers for all of them?
I have property managers for the one out of state.
Okay. And do you just do long term or is there any short term in any of them?
I don't have short-term rental yet.
Is that, oh, yes. So you want to try like Airbnb, Furnish Finder and all that?
Oh yeah, I definitely want. So my next move, hopefully if all goes well, is a short-term rental. That I will be actually partnering with somebody in a mastermind that I'm a part of. She kills it in short-term rentals. I no desire to expend any amount of energy thinking about it. I just want to take part in the ROIs of them.
Mhm.
So I will partner with her for that, and then I'll continue buying properties myself or buy and hold in Georgia.
Okay. Okay. And uh, when you're doing that, are you also like would you count yourself as an investor or you just, well, like, how would you say, are you finding the properties or you're like here, when it comes to those types of, are you, the partners that you're having, or do you just want to give them the money so that you can get a return on investment, probably more than 13%, I'm guessing?
So yeah, so I get the question you're asking. For the short-term rental, we would be partners. We would both own the property. We've discussed like different and there's lots of ways to structure this. But for example, if since she's gonna manage the property, I would put down 60 percent of the down payment and closing costs. She'll put down 40, and then she will take care of managing the property. And that's just, there's lots of ways to structure it. But That is for that. In terms of my own properties, no, I look for them, I run my numbers on them, I finance them, and then I just pass them on to the property manager.
Oh, okay. And what would you recommend to those that are trying to get into their real estate, right? Like that first house, uh, like that mindset. Because I know for me, right, it was like really hard, not like hard, but it was like hesitant, right? So I was like, I was doing all cash. I'm buying this, right? But it was so weird. But after that, I made a breakthrough and it was just all good. So what would you recommend to those that are trying to buy their first deal?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes from, I think if we have the knowledge, that leads to action. But I think a lot of people are scared to act because we don't know exactly what that next step looks like or what all the, scenarios could be. I think it's super helpful to get around people who are doing it. I think, like, for example, in the mastermind I'm a part of, I'm seeing people close deals, every week, and so it puts that pressure on me of like, what am I doing, what how can I keep up with my peers? So I would encourage people to try and find a group or a person that they can shadow or just talk to that will give them that confidence. If I take this next step and something comes up, well, at least I can turn to this group or this person and ask them for advice.
Yeah. Okay. And what would you recommend for masterminds as well? Would you say, because I know there's some masterminds that are kind of like all about the money, right? And they
Yeah.
just tell you about the basic things from the books, right? Uh, what would you recommend for those that are trying to find those good masterminds that are not money hungry? Because there's ones that are like pay $1,000 a month. Well, that could be a down payment on some for some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
for something.
I feel like, I feel like in this age of like social media, you could do a lot of digging yourself, but also just asking if if there is a mastermind that you're curious to learn more about, just generally picking a person or two in that mastermind and asking them for their experience and if they think it's worth it. I think that's probably going to go a lot longer way than like online reviews or things of that nature. But also, as opposed to masterminds, I do want people to know that you can, listen to podcasts and consume information and books and all of that that give you the confidence or the motivation to act. That it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid mastermind.
Okay. And as a real estate agent, what do you expect your clients to do or investors to be
What
up to be a good investor, I guess, or like a perfect client? There's no such thing as a perfect client. What do you expect from them so that they can make your life easier and make the
Yeah.
process a bit more easier?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a real estate investor, you need to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I have had, for example, somebody who first hears about the BRRRR method and they come to me and they're like, find me a BRRRR. Like that's not really my job.
Yeah.
My job is to find you value out of properties, but I'm not a contractor. I can give you an estimated rehab budget, but you're the investor. You have to pull all those pieces together. Once The easiest thing is if you know what you're doing, one, two, if you know where you're looking, and three, if you have your financings together. I can pull all of those things for you and I can help you. But at the end of the day, you need to know how to run your own numbers, whether that's a BRRRR or whatever it is that you want to flip. You need to know how to do that as well. I'll help, but I can't invest in that property for you.
Gotcha. And how do you know if a client is also like going like they have too much dip in their chip, of course, like they're trying to make things too much for you. And because I know in the Burr book, they recommend like giving like tips, of course, like a bonus to your real estate agent as well. Would that make it like them your primary client? If there was like, if it's like investor versus investor, what makes someone a primary?
Somebody who's just clear about exactly what they're looking for. Like if you come up to me and you're like, I'm looking for a good deal, and versus I'm looking for a 7 cap in this market with these characteristics, that's a much more specific guideline as to what I can fine for you. A good deal could mean a lot of things. So just kind of having a good understanding of what it is you're looking for and how to, whatever it is you're doing, how to do it. If it's a flip, if it's a burr, whatever, if it's a buy and hold, you need to understand kind of the fundamentals as well.
Okay. And from a real estate aspect, what is your daily schedule looking like? And what do you spend most of your time on?
So it definitely varies. I spend most of my time at showings, I would say, for the most part. Also, right now, scheduling, which is not good. So I'm working on hiring a VA to hire out those tasks that I don't need to be doing. But it varies. Like I had a day today where I didn't leave the house at all, and so I spent a lot of time behind the computer doing sending clients deals, running numbers, scheduling, kind of all of that. And then there will be days where I'm out and about every day. Kind of varies.
Okay. And would you say you think of it as like money in a certain, like, should I spend this hour? Like, how much would you say your time is worth?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I've put thought into that yet, but but I have put thought into the fact that I need to be doing the activities that bring me money that only I can do. Which for me, that is talking to leads, right? Talking to clients, whether that's a listing or buying presentation, and closing them. Essentially, that's where the sales part is where I come in. Everything else, really, somebody else could do. Is scheduling, somebody else could do, writing up, even to the extent of writing the offer. Like I can be the one talking to a client regarding the offer, but the actual digital part of typing in a number and there's things of that nature doesn't even have to be me. So getting really specific about the things that could be saving me time is something I'm working on.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing that people probably should get inside their mind. Like, are you going to spend your time doing what you want to do, or have it like have your time being wasted through like mowing the lawn or whatever, whenever you're like probably like a software engineer or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
um, what would you do if like how would you allocate your time that you spend, like the things that you don't want to do, I guess. You say you're about to you want to get a
Yeah.
VA, of course, and VA is a virtual assistance for those that don't confuses a VA loan with a VA. So it's a virtual assistant. And where would you recommend getting a virtual assistant?
So there's lots of sites that where you can go online and kind of look at reviews. The two that I'm picking between are, one is called My Outdesk, which is so you can go online and find your own VA, write up the job description, go to somewhere like Upwork and find one yourself. I don't want to go that route because I don't think that's the best use of my time. So I will pay a little more to go through a provider like My Outdesk. So what they do is they basically make sure that the candidates I'm interviewing are A+ people, right? So they've already done the legwork up front to make sure that I'm getting vetted individuals, and there's some security in that, right? So if my one VA doesn't work out, I don't just have nowhere to go. I can go back to that provider and say, well, who do you have next, and they'll help you with that. I'm choosing between My Outdesk and Brivity VA, which is Brivity is a CRM. They offer VAs. It's the only reason I'm considering them.
Okay. And what would you like your virtual assistant to do? Because from a lot of people, they're like, oh, they're just going to handle your emails because they're virtual, right? What else can they do for you, for your own personal?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, a lot of it is virtual, but I see them. This is part of my to-do list is if write their job description, but I see them taking care of my schedule. So I should not be spending an hour scheduling for my clients. I should be the one meeting my clients. So scheduling any paperwork that they need to sign, they can serve as a transaction coordinator in that sense. They can handle the dates of it. For example, I would love to get an offer. They go in, look at the offer. They take all the dates and put them into my calendar. So already I don't have to think about that. Things of that nature, right? So everything that somebody could learn, right? Easier than sales, I suppose.
okay. And what type of CRM and other automations that you use in your life?
This is the year for systemizing.
Yeah.
I have not been great with that and have had a lot of success. So I'm thinking that if I can get this down, I will have a lot more. In terms of CRMs, there's a lot out there. I use Brevity, and by I use, I mean I should use, because I that's the one I pay for. But I'm working on that. Part of what I want my VA to do is actually, I have a ton of leads that come in from different sources. I would like them to put them on an automated plan on my CRM and keep up with them. So that's something that I could be doing, but I clearly haven't allocated enough time to it. So I feel like that's a task a VA could help with.
Okay. And let's go to like, since this is we're going towards the younger guys here, right? Or the
Okay.
younger folks here. What would you say that one tip that helped you succeed in real estate or life so far that you would recommend to people? That one tip.
Ooh, one. I've
Yeah,
never been a fan
one.
of favorites. I don't like choosing. I'm indecisive. Okay. The one thing I would say is take a bet on yourself. I remember when I was discussing whether to go full time as an agent or not. Sorry, my dogs are in the background. When I was deciding whether to go full time or not.
I don't know.
What happened?
Yeah, you just lagged it in a little bit there.
Oh,
You're good though.
sorry. I
Go
can
ahead.
start over. Where was I? Okay. Sorry. Can you hear my dogs in the background?
Yeah, it's a little. It doesn't matter though.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
good.
All right. I would say, okay, so take a bet on yourself. When
Yeah.
I was deciding whether to go full time or not as a real estate agent, I was having a similar conversation with a colleague, and they said, that's a really big chance to take on yourself. And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't take a chance on myself, who the hell is going to take a chance on me?
Yeah.
And that mindset is huge, because I don't think that I would have, I mean, it's crazy. I make 5 times or 6 times what my salary would have been if I stayed at my job, and I'll make more than that next year. And who knows, like moving forward, but it would never have happened if I didn't bet on myself.
Okay. Just betting on yourself. That's awesome. And if what would you recommend to like 18-year-olds that are trying to get financially free, right? Again, these guys are 18, bare bones, barely any credit, right? I always recommend people start a secured credit card, right? Just to get your credit up, right? What would you recommend to those that are 18? They don't like working, right? Because we're in this new age of like young people that don't want to work. So what would you say what they can do to get there?
Okay, well, I was just about to say that at 18, there's a lot of things you could work in, side hustles, whatever it is, Uber. I mean, I'm not afraid to work hard. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that whatever career industry you're in, it shows, right? If you're going to be the person who works hard, you're going to get rewarded. So it's just that simple. If you want to be lazy, I don't think this is the field for you personally, because either you can be lazy, but you better have capital,
Yeah.
because otherwise you need to have something else, which is a value add to somebody, right? Whatever, you're the one that's cold calling, you're the one who's door knocking. Like, you have to have something, or you can have money, but usually it takes hard work to get money. So
And speaking of that, like being lazy, I was told by I like a teacher, right, for computer science. He said a quote like the best computer science, the computer scientists are they're the ones that are the laziest, right? Because they want to figure out the answer so that they can become lazy, and so they
Yep.
work hard in the beginning so they can solve the problem. So you can basically drink margaritas at the beach and like do whatever you want. And
Exactly.
a lot of people, they realize that once they get that situation, like they're kind of bored, like I kind of want to do something else. I feel like you're kind of, do you see do you kind of see that yourself right now? Like you're kind of like making a lot of money now. You're like, okay, I just want to keep on investing, bigger deals, scale up more, see what I can do. Yeah, what would you say to that, to those that are trying to scale up, or they're already in that financially free, but they don't got any things left, I guess?
Okay, so I think that was two parts. The first is I'm definitely in a growth phase of my life, and I think I have years left of that. But I have it very clear that I don't want a job, I want a business, and that's why I'm systemizing all these things so that I can be financially free and have somebody else work kind of for me. But what would I say to somebody who is financially free at this
Yeah,
point?
and they're bored.
Bored, huh? I think no, I think it just they need a little bit of self-discovery. I think we all have things that move us, in different ways that aren't money related,
Yeah.
whether that's, volunteering or music or whatever it is. I know what those things are for me. I think it's important that people figure that out for themselves.
All right. Xanis here has a question here. Go ahead. Hold up. You're muted.
I'm sorry, the subject may have changed, but
You're
I
good.
was I was wondering what other ways besides real estate do you reinvest your money?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was really real estate heavy at the beginning, and last year was, I think it was a little bit of FOMO, got into the stock market and crypto. I think those are great investments as well. It's important. The more, as time goes on, I keep trying to decide what's better, real estate, stocks. Stocks are more
Yeah.
passive. But I think depending on what you end up doing, real estate becomes more important for tax benefits than for the cash flow necessarily. And it's always good, I think, to have a tangible asset. But I think there's a ton of opportunity in stocks and crypto, particularly right now. And what else? You could go out and buy business. But I would just be wary of being too all over the place. I do think it's important at the beginning, at least, to focus on one thing so you can become good at that one thing, and then you can go out and do your other things.
Okay. And speaking of crypto, do you why would you say crypto and stocks? Like I guess stocks now, but like why crypto? Since a lot of people, old heads, I would say, like they're like crypto. What, like nobody cares about digital currency, metaverse, right? What are some opportunities in there?
So I have my own opinions about the metaverse. I'm still not super into digital real estate, but hey, I'm open. I think there's a ton of opportunity. I think crypto is the future, and maybe that's because I'm young, right? And that's what all older people would say is not. But I think that crypto presents an opportunity that it's like what Uber did to cabs, right? I think
Yeah.
crypto's doing that to the like financial systems. And if the current big banks that we have don't kind of pick that up, they're going to be left behind. I think people will choose crypto over traditional banking.
Now, Karina, would you buy a house in the metaverse?
I would have to be very, very, very financially comfortable to do that. But that's not my priority. I will continue to buy real assets. I mean, and by real assets, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that it's not an asset, but I mean to say I will buy real property, like physical property until, look, if I had play money, yeah, why not? Because that could go very far. But it's a riskier investment. And I'm not in that position right now.
Now, your opinion on NFTs?
It's very similar to my opinion on virtual real estate. So it's great. I think there's a lot of people making a ton of money. I think that in different industries, I think we still don't know that what the full utility of them will be. I think right now they're all hype and art and all that. But and hey, there's a lot of people making a ton of money. So if
Yeah.
you can learn how to do that, then great. Again, you have to choose an avenue to go down. And if you want to learn a ton about NFTs and make a ton of money that way, then go ahead. It's kind of understanding what your niche will be.
Okay. And there's one thing that correlates with all this, right? And it's networking, right? So what's your take on networking, and how would you recommend someone getting better at it? Because I know Andreas, he recommended people going to Toastmasters, right? To get comfortable speaking with people or speaking out loud to public. And then that helps you connect and network with other people. And then, because you heard that quote before, your net worth is your network. So
Mhm.
what's your thoughts on that?
I've actually never heard of Toastmaster or what that is, but
Do you want me to please say what that is?
yeah, what
It's
is that?
basically like you stand in like now it's digital, right? So you could just do Zoom call, but it's like imagine like you're doing a speech, but in front of like 1,000 people, right? And you're
Okay.
on stage. It makes you like weirded out, but you get comfortable with that. And it's like a club that they do, and it's like probably like $100 a month, and you just do that, and you get comfortable speaking, and they
It's
teach you like
interesting.
some things.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did something similar like that in high school. But and I do think it has paid off, I suppose, or matters. But in terms of networking, I just think it's important to approach conversations with an open mind and with a value added kind of mindset. I don't know if I necessarily have a tip for, and I'm sorry I'm not helpful because I feel like this is a part of me that comes a little bit natural.
Yeah.
So I've never had to think about how can I become a better networker.
Yeah.
But also just I think the more we get used to being outside of our comfort zone, the easier it becomes because I definitely put myself out of my comfort zone all the time. And every single time I do feel nervous and I feel out of my comfort zone. But then once I cross that boundary, it's like you just keep doing it over and over. And it's almost like you get used to that.
Okay. Yeah, like definitely. And since like we get a bunch of female viewers as well, right? And what would you recommend to like your position as a female investing or working in real estate, right? Would you say it's a lot more different from like a male perspective, or like is it something different at all?
I think it can be different insofar that a lot of times when you're in a room, it's going to be male dominant. And I think, and this could be false, but I'm sure men, or let me not say I'm sure. I do think that there are still men who are going to take another man more seriously than a female. But I almost feel like it's encouraging I almost think that that's encouraging for each female who is in the industry to be a badass, right?
Yeah.
To know your numbers, to be able to do everything that a man can do, and if not better, right? So I definitely am, and I think that a situation might come up where you might feel different, but I think you should use that to your advantage, not kind of shy away from it.
Yeah. And when it comes to like you and your girlfriend, right? How did you introduce her to investing as well? Because I bet it was pretty hard to like help having your family members or your friends like, hey, we should probably do this like real estate thing. They're like, you probably don't know what you're doing. So what would you say to
Yeah.
that?
So I think it's conversations, right? But also what has been more helpful is letting books speak for themselves, right? Hey, maybe
Mhm.
you should read this book. And I think there's people who are very obsessed or driven about certain aspect, and we can't expect that somebody else will be as driven or as obsessed about that particular subject, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I took me a little bit to understand that as well. But I think the less that I pushed on it, the more open she was, and I think she saw the vision. Right, we dream of this life where we spend it doing whatever we want, whenever we want, with whomever we want. Right, so that I think everybody can relate to, whether they're interested in real estate or not. They can all relate to wanting that vision.
Gotcha. And what is your biggest inspiration, or like what is your why, right? Why are is it bigger than financial freedom, or um like what got you to become like fine what why do you want to become financially free?
Yeah, I think I kind of just mentioned it, and it's very, it's almost like everybody else's, but it's true. I do want to do whatever I want with whomever I want, wherever I want. I heard this person say, and I want to be able to help whoever I want. And I think the more time that passes, the more I resonate with using or wanting wealth for service. Like I would love to have an impact in that way. I also come from, I spoke about this earlier, but I also come from a family where they've given up everything so that I could live this life. And I feel like indebted to them to
Yeah.
go so much further. Yeah.
And what is your work-life balance looking like? Because I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't do real estate. I can't study for this. I work from a 9 to 5 and I have kids, right? What would you say to that?
I don't have a great work-life balance for now.
Yeah.
For now, but also it's because I understand the phase in my life that I'm at. I'm willing to work hard, and I will work from the time I wake, and not always, but I will work from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. But that's because I love what I do. I could not do that if I hated every second of it. I love what I do. I don't realize I'm working. My girlfriend and I get in fights all the time about this, but so I think it's important. I think you have to learn how to balance that, and I'm working on it. But um, I think it's important to recognize the years that are your growth years, and I'm in my growth years.
Okay. And what about I guess a lot of people, they're like, okay, I don't hate my job, right? But I do hate the people around me. So there's a lot of negative energy in a lot of like job areas. And they just give a negative vibe, and that fills you up to like just not be motivated. Uh, I bet, have you ever had that type of situation?
Yeah, I honestly, I know it's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, everybody can do it. I would switch jobs.
Yeah.
I think your environment is everything. I work in but the place where I work at now is full of young, driven, motivated individuals. We all have the same, like we talk about financial freedom in our office all the time. I think that's super important. If you're not around that, it's just going to drain you. You can try and not think about it. You can try and focus on your own path, but I think the conversations you have at lunch matter. That energy matters, and if it's not aligned with where you want to go, you need to find some place that is.
Okay. And whenever you've, I guess like now, like this goes in par with like friends, right? A lot of these guys are in high school. They're like, they know um, these friends that they've grown up with, and they're a bad influence, right? You want to go ahead and succeed in life and become the best version of you, right? But you have this friend, right, that's really lazy. They don't want to do anything, they just want to play video games, stay at their mom's house, right? um what would you say to those types of like people that are around your life, right? Those five around your life that are just like bringing you down a little bit.
They matter even more, right? I think we have a duty to try and pass on anything positive that we can, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody teaches us, if we learn this, if somebody walks into our life and changes our life because they changed our mindset, I feel like we have a duty to share that with our five closest people. It's not your duty to do the work for them. If they can't, you have to understand if somebody's draining you or adding to your life. And if you need to, it doesn't mean you have to you say, okay, I'm never going to speak to this person starting on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like you just stop hanging. It's not that you stop hanging out with them in particular. It's just that you're doing other things that are, more fitting to whatever you need to do. And slowly with passing, you're going to start drifting apart, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if that person is draining you rather than adding to your life.
Yeah. I recommend guys like if just because they're giving 0% back to you, doesn't mean you should doesn't mean you should lower your standards from 100% to all the way to like their percentage, right? You be you, right? If you like enjoying helping them, go ahead, right? And speaking you're a human being, right? We're all human beings. So what are your good habits and bad habits? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm always great, I'm always doing good things, but I'll be honest, I have some bad habits and it's really hard to get rid of them, but I'm working on them. But what would you say your bad habits and good habits are?
Good habits are that I like to get all of my work done, and that in for example, in the field that I'm in, that matters because that means I'm always staying on top of my clients. Like I'm always staying or communicating with them or being at the level that I need to be. The negative to that is that I don't draw enough of a balance in my work to life balance, and that that makes some of my other relationships more difficult. So it's like, it could be a positive and a negative.
Mhm.
I am not organized, so that's why I need a VA. That's a bad one. A positive is I'm goal oriented and I always work towards goals. I work out, like I'm active. I tried to have a routine. What else? No, I think that's it.
Okay, yeah. You went all up on that. But yeah, that's what makes you human, at least, because you see a lot of these guys have Lamborghinis, like they're just they're just perfect guys. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
them, but I'm being real with people. Like, listen, you can get what you want, and then you don't have to be perfect with it. There's still people that are kind of trouble in the head, but you know, they're still rocking it like you. You're a hard worker, but you're unorganized, right? You're honest about it.
Oh yeah.
So, and you
Yeah.
can allocate that to someone else doing it. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you, what would you, okay, what would you say the biggest obstacle you faced in real estate so far? Like, was it like a bad client? Like, what was your first client like that was like, oh my God, this is bad.
Bad clients are tough. My biggest obstacle so far, I don't think it's been okay. So I wouldn't say it's been like a scenario. I think right now in my real estate journey, I have to get better at disciplining myself to cold call. I have to get better at lead generation is, I guess, what I would say. Because at the end of the day, that's the core of my business. That's the only thing I should be doing. And I don't prioritize that enough. So that's the biggest challenge is picking up the phone and wanting to cold call for 2 hours and doing that type of thing. Everything else you can deal with, bad clients, financing, all of that, they come and they go.
Okay, yeah. Like, are you also trying to get into wholesaling since you are doing the cold call part
So
of it?
no, it's for is that it. The way I foresee it happening is for myself as an agent, for my investor clients, for my developer clients. There's a lot of if I can find a deal and a developer can build on it, then I don't only get paid on the buy side, but I get the listings on the back end, right? So there's a lot of ways to make money in that regard.
Okay, yeah. Like, and whenever it comes to like your clients, right? Do you always put your clients first, or is it like, hey, I gotta have something, you know, let me get this house real quick, and then I'll get it to my clients if I can't get it, you know what I mean?
I think I do always put my clients first, and that's just because I don't have the bandwidth to do more.
Yeah.
I think, but I also think that if I did, I would know how to balance that well. I don't think that it would be like, let me take all the good ones. I can't, even if I wanted to.
Yeah. And would you recommend people, like, investor sakes, should they become a real estate agent just so they can have access to the MLS, or they just go ahead and ask their real estate agent and be like, hey, just set it up for me? Because I know there's two different versions of it. I hear a lot of things about it. Like, yeah, definitely get your real estate license just so you can get the MLS or whatever.
I feel like it's not necessary. If I wasn't going to be an agent, I probably would not, or I would not have gotten my license. And I don't think it's necessary at all. At the end of the day, I'm kind of a big believer in stick to your lane type of thing. Like, if let the agents send you the MLS and all of that, you focus on running your numbers or whatever it is you do as a full-time investor. Now I do think it could be useful if you're the type that likes to have all the data, right? Because you could just go on there and you wouldn't have to rely on an agent to schedule showings because you could schedule them directly. But then the question becomes like, do you really want to be scheduling showings, or do you want somebody else to do that for you? Kind of,
Gotcha. And we're gonna go with the last two real estate questions, and then we're gonna move on to the I guess you could say the final six questions. And so, what's your mental process when it comes to like finding deals for real estate? Like, do you aim for multifamilies, 1% rule? Like, what is it?
Okay, so I do follow the 1% rule. so far as it allows me to easily calculate something, but I will do like the further due diligence. I thought I wanted to do multifamily only, and then I went to a market where there was primarily single families, like Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, and so that changed my mind a little bit because at the end of the day, there's still good deals, and I love that I don't have to worry about cutting the lawn, or I don't think there's any snow, but if there was,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have to worry about snow removal because it's a single family, which is something that I'm not used to. I'm used to having to deal with all of that with the multifamily.
Yeah.
So I'm right now it's just buy and hold meets that cash flow as well, essentially.
Okay. And would you say you're uh do you use like the bigger pockets calculator, or do you have your own like Excel sheet that you're doing?
Yeah, I have my own. It's our company. We're pretty investor friendly at my brokerage, so we have our own
You have your
calculator.
own. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I have my own
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, and what are some other tools they use when it comes to real estate or your daily life?
So I have prop stream, which I'm sure some of you have heard of.
Yeah.
And that's good to just get a more data, right? The data is key. And I use Rentometer.
Mhm.
I actually hadn't been using Rentometer, and I had been running the rental analysis for a bunch of different areas myself. And then I got Rentometer and I was like, wow, and I cross-referenced it. It's pretty accurate actually. And I saved myself so much time by using that tool. So I would say that's another one. And that's about it. I have a CRM.
Nice. Yeah. That's one thing I gotta get on to. I gotta get like another CRM, like you said, like a VA. Yeah, that would definitely help. Like because for me, right, in my situation, I'm like, should I get a virtual assistant? Since like, what are they gonna do? Check my emails or set up my schedule? Because I got like Google Calendar, right? But sometimes I don't follow it, right? I'm like, that's my issue, I guess. But other than that, I'm just investing. I'm like, how can I allocate my own stuff? But it's pretty difficult.
I think it has to, I think it also, there has to be a need for it. I
Mhm.
think you can't, it's not just like, oh, if you're not too busy right now, don't get
Yeah,
a VA. When it feels like you're too busy and now you're spending time not doing something that would be more dollar productive,
yeah,
that's when we get a VA. Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And let's go with the final six, right? Uh, if you could tell your younger self, right, if you can go back in time, right, what would you tell your younger self? It could be 18, 16, 22, right? What would you tell yourself?
It hasn't been that long.
That's true.
And I don't have any regrets at all. The only thing I would do is probably have started investing in the stock market earlier. Like that's definitely one thing I would have done. But two, I would have gone to more networking events. I would have tried to meet more people younger.
Yeah,
I wish I had done. I didn't do that as much as I wish I had. I think especially when you're that young, like people who are even now, people reach out to me and I'll give them tips and all of that. And I think when you're younger, like the people who are already pretty successful, they feel like a want to help you even more.
yeah. And do you ever feel like a little jealousy that comes out of it, like a little envious, like, wow, these young guys or young folks are getting 5 houses, 20 houses, like, or is it like, hey, everybody gets their own like piece of the grape or something like
I
that? Like,
stick I stick to my lane, but no,
okay.
I actually feel I'm a really grateful person, and I think that has when you're super grateful, like you're only thinking about how lucky you are to have everything you have. So,
Yeah.
um, but and I feel like I was somebody who started pretty young, compared to some other like I help people all the time buy their first home who are 30, 40. So it's crazy to have started so early.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely true. I found like, I guess I would have that same issue where like I was very envious of people, like, how are they able to do this and I can't, right? But I later learned like they're also going through problems as well. But you should be happy of what you got. Gratitude is one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
And what would you say like your secret sauce? What do you think the secret sauce is and to become successful?
Ooh, I never thought about that question. That's a good one. My secret sauce. I can't tell people. It's not gonna be so secret. Um, man, I don't know. I do give my business my all, and that drive is just innate. And
Yeah.
I so that is my secret sauce is my drive.
All right, guys, she's not telling her secret sauce.
No,
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 you're good.
seriously. I mean, without that, I wouldn't work as hard. I wouldn't read all these books. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, you're right. Hard work and all that, and like just it's just right there, right? The books are right there. You might as well just read them, right? That's gonna be the question coming up. But uh for the okay, what's your quote that you live by? Like all readers are not leaders, but all leaders are readers. So what is a quote that you go by every single day?
Quote that I live by every single day. So I just because it's the one in front of me, not very sophisticated, but it's work hard, dream big.
Work hard,
Not very
dream big.
sophisticated.
That's what you live by.
Hey.
Hey, it's not bad. And again, what are your favorite books that you would recommend? It could be real estate, personal development,
Yeah.
fictional,
So,
whatever.
yeah. So obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? That's what everybody
Oh,
recommends.
wow.
But I do remember I gotta reread that one actually, because I read it when I was in college, and I think, it helps you get kickstarted. If you haven't read any books, it has to be that one. But then if you start to get into any type of business, I would really, really, really recommend the E-Myth. I happen to read the one related to real estate as an agent, but it really takes you from that like self-employed mindset to that business mindset. If you're trying to be a real estate agent or brand new, Sold by David Green is a pretty good tutorial of how to get started. I'm looking at my book list.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you're definitely looking at your book list.
Life and Air
Like, I
is
hate that book so much.
you hate it?
I hate
Why?
it. It's so bad. Like,
No, that for me was a great reminder to not get fixated on, because I feel like who doesn't get fixated on all the material stuff that comes with wealth? That was such a good reminder to
oh
not.
no, that book was trying to sell you on Christianity on a passive way.
Oh no. Listen, all these wealthy people are also religious, so maybe
I know, no.
maybe they know something we don't.
No, we were just talking about this book. I look at Brandon Turner. I'm like, why does he like this book so much? And you actually hate? I talked to like one of the other investors. Like, wait, you actually hate this book as well too? Yeah, I don't understand it. Why is this book? I get like what I like to do is I tell everybody like, hey, get a portion of your check, right? 10%, just put it into a savings account. That's charity right there, right? You can give that at the end of the year to. I know a lot of religions, they also do that too. Like they like get a proportion of your check and like give it to charity. And some of these like rich, like charitable people, they're kind of scary too. They're like, they adopt kids, they give like $100,000 to like
how dare they? Yeah. How dare they adopt kids?
It's kind of scary. I'm like, but yeah, I mean, if Life and Air is your favorite book, Karina,
I wouldn't say it's my favorite. You know what? What did I say earlier in the call? I don't like favorites. I hate having to choose things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but no, those are all, I feel like those are all good.
Man,
you know which one I hated that everybody loves?
Go ahead.
Think and Grow Rich.
You hated that book?
Yes.
Is it because of
the richest
author?
man in Babylon? Are you kidding me?
What? That's a good book. I recommend that book to everybody. Okay. No. You're saying the richest man in Babylon.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's one of the, if you want to hear about Mr. like middle century men trading about coins. Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And I bet you hate The Alchemist too. Is that what it's called? I forgot what the book's called, but yeah. The Alchemy. I don't know what it's called.
Actually, I hope not, because that's next on my reading list. It's right there.
Oh wow. Okay, there you go. You're gonna hate that book, I guess. If you hate the richest man Babylon, it's a good book. All right, I'll recommend that to everybody as well. But yeah, didn't know that you're so polar opposite in the book area. I guess like You
I
love
guess
you love life in air, but you hate richest man in Babylon.
I couldn't get into it.
No, oh no. But yeah. And what last question here.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself doing in 2022 or in the next 5 years, right?
Okay. This year I have some pretty big goals. I closed 24 million in real estate last year. My goal was to double that. I want to add 10 doors to my portfolio. I want to get in the best shape of my life so far. Those are my big three. In the next 5 years, I want to build a team of kick-ass agents in Boston. And then I want to move to Miami full time and do it again. And then I'll oversee the two teams. That's the
Miami.
goal.
Okay. Miami.
I
All
need some
right.
warmth in my life.
All right. I appreciate you coming here, Karina. Is there anything else you want to say to the people that are listening to this, how they can reach out to you?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is Karina_Mejiaa with 2 A's at the end. That's Karina_Mejiaa.
Do you have a website?
Yes, but it's real estate related. It's karinasells.com if anybody wants to look at it. But it's realistic. That's a very agent website.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming here, Karina. And yeah, can't wait until people hear your podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.